I went to go see the 2021 Candyman movie produced by Jordan Peele, directed by Nia DaCosta, because I really wanted to go back in the movie theater and rekindle my love for movies. Now, Candyman is a franchise that started back in the 90s and one that became sort of this schoolyard thing because Candyman came out when I was in elementary school, and I remember that was the whole thing. Oh, you can't see Candyman in the mirror 5 times or, whatever. And the whole story, like the whole concept became this like schoolyard thing. We all talked about it when I was in school. But when I actually saw the 1992 Candyman movie, I thought it was okay, but it really wasn't that scary. Candyman was never a franchise that I was really, really into. I loved Freddy Krueger, A Nightmare Series, Friday, Chucky. I love all those franchises. Other ones too, the classic horror, slasher horror legends, but Candyman was never on my list. Now, I love Tony Todd, don't get me wrong, and I love aspects of the original Candyman movie, but that's what kind of led me into seeing this film because I really wanted to see it. Now, this movie takes the Candyman lore and kind of changes it around a bit because it does sort of like what they did with Friday the 13th Part 9, which was Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, where they sort of repurposed the legend of Candyman as sort of like a reincarnating thing where there will always be a new Candyman, and the Candyman that continues to exist throughout time is a representation of, well, if we're being honest, a representation of like racism, and he's sort of like a martyr type of character who's like seeking revenge. That's the way that I interpreted this film. And let me tell you right now, when it comes to this movie, there is a ton of social commentary. And to be honest, it's to the point where it kind of became frustrating. They overdid it in this film. I'm all for movies that have like social commentary and political commentary if it's meaningful. I like movies like that. I like thinking. This movie kind of felt very, very shoehorned. It felt very, very shoehorned. I thought that the acting, parts of it was really subpar, parts of it was really good. For example, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who's the main character, he's an artist and he becomes obsessed with like the legend of Candyman, and he doesn't understand that Candyman, like the story of Candyman, actually like it goes back to the first movie. Like that was a cool. I don't want to spoil it, but that was a cool twist what they did with it. But they kind of changed like how Candyman works. And so I have mixed opinions on that. He was a good actor, but some of the other actors in the film I felt were a little bit subpar. Now when it comes to Candyman, like I said, it's a slasher movie, and this movie is very gory, very violent. Very like, it's a slasher movie. You got throats being cut and bodies being disemboweled, and that stuff was all good. But one of the criticisms I have of this movie is that I thought that it took too long to get to the point. It's not a very long movie. It's an hour and a half, but they do a lot of buildup. And I have mixed opinions because even though I like the buildup and I appreciate the buildup, I feel like it took too long to get there. You know what I mean? It just took too long to get to where they wanted to go to really get me invested. And I'm just kind of watching the movie and I'm kind of like, you know, checking in and out. I'm interested, but I'm also like in my head thinking, okay, get to the point. Like, where's this going? And there's some really, really dodgy editing near the end of the movie. Like, basically close to the end of the film, it's almost like it felt like they ran out of time because the secondary character, played by Tanoia Paris, which is Brianna, she ends up like, I don't want to spoil it, but things happen to her that I didn't really understand. Maybe I should watch it again and try to figure it out. But she ends up like in a location that like just bad editing to where we don't know how she got there. We don't know why she's there. But again, maybe I missed it. As somebody who watches movies, you can't catch everything the first time. But I thought that editing was very wonky and it felt very rushed. In my opinion, they tried to make the mythology of Candyman a bit deeper, but I also felt like it had been done before. Now, one thing I will give credit, and this is something we got to talk about here in this review, is Nia DaCosta's unique editing style and a directing style. Like I said, some of the edits were wonky, but there's like when they do flashbacks, they use these like wall puppets to like tell the flashback, these sort of like paper mache cutout puppets. And it's like, like with the light shining on them, and it's really, really unique. There's also a really cool kill in the film where you see the kill from the angle of like this pocket mirror. Like that type of stuff I really appreciated because um the director, Nia D'Acosta, really like plays with you in the movie. Like you kind of aren't, there's times where you're not really sure what's going on, and there's different angles used, and they sometimes they'll show too much, sometimes they won't show anything. And I really appreciated that. Like that's stuff that I really liked about the movie. There's things about this movie that I really appreciated. But it's not a movie that I'm going to go back and watch a lot. Like it's a one and done film in my opinion. But they did try to cram a lot here, and I felt like I don't want to use the word woke, but there was a lot of, I don't know if you could even call it pandering. Obviously, with what they're doing with Candyman being this sort of, African American representation of a frustrated black man who's been abused by whites, which we see time and time again in the film. There's a recurring theme where white people are very rude to black people in this film, including something involving the cops near the end of the film. And that's something that I thought was really interesting, but they also tried to shoehorn like gay and lesbian characters in, and those characters felt very shoehorned. Like, you know what I mean? I'm okay with them having representation, but this to me felt like they were checking off boxes, and that's becoming kind of an annoying thing now in Hollywood. Every movie has to do that. And so you have these two characters who are, homosexual in the film, and then later on you have lesbians, and when they introduce the lesbians, you don't really even know they're lesbians until they one of them makes like a random quip about like vagina, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're lesbian. And it felt like it was just, hey, we have to appease the lesbians if we have gays in here, and none of that was even needed. You know what I mean? But again, I think that they're kind of going for social commentary here. In fact, I know they are, but I thought it was just too much. Like I thought they overdid it in my opinion. Not a bad movie, not I mean, it's disappointing. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was a bit disappointing, but it's not a horrible movie. It's not like the worst movie ever made. There's some good ideas here. Jordan Peele wrote the script, and worked with Nia D'Acosta, but like, or Nia DaCosta. Maybe I'm saying the name wrong. And they put together an interesting story, and I like how they play with the audience a lot. But this needed a lot of fine tuning, in my opinion. There's things that they could have done that I think could have been more important. And also, I do like the cameos. I don't want to spoil it, but there are cameos from Candyman 1 because it does tie in. And if you're a fan of the Candyman franchise, you're going to appreciate that. Me personally, again, I don't hate the Candyman film series. I just feel like it was never my favorite. And actually, to be honest, I've never seen Farewell to the Flesh or Day of the Dead, the Candyman sequels. I've never even seen those before. So, I don't even know if they even tie into this. I've never seen them before. So I don't even know. But Clive Barker is the one who came up with the original character. Anyways, thumbs in the middle movie. I can't even recommend to go see it if you have like, there's other movies you can go see that are better. It's fine. Like it's gonna make you think a little bit, but it's not a movie that I'm gonna watch more than once. It's a one and done for me. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for the review. Let me know, or thanks for watching the review. Let me know what you thought about Candyman, and we'll talk soon.